fine. Alright, that sounds good. Alright, well, the story of the Molly Maguires, as I'm getting ready to explain. But first, I want to explain to you that these are not the original gallows that were used to hang the Molly Maguires. These are exact replicas. Now, we're not 100% sure what happened to the original gallows, but we do know they were disposed of after they were used. As you can see, normally gallows are only fit to hang one man, but these gallows are fit to hang 4 men all at the same time, so they were especially made for the Molly Maguires. Now, the Molly Maguires were a group of Irishmen who came over during the mid to late 1800s, escaping starvation, persecution, and eviction. Now, when they got here, they found that it wasn't as sorry about that. It wasn't as easy as it seemed. Most of the men ended up relying on the coal mines. And as you probably know, the coal mines are a very dangerous place to work. Cave-ins, mine fires, medical issues like black lung, and the fact that the men were only getting paid $1 a day. Obviously, it's not a lot of money. Now, the men did even have to buy their own equipment to go down and work in the mines. So imagine getting paid $1 a day, having to support your family, as well as buy your equipment to do your job. So money did go very fast, and normally by the end of the week, the men owed the coal company money instead of having money to spend. Now, eventually, the men did form the first union in the coal region. It was called the Workers' Benevolent Association. This association got their pay raised by an extra 25 cents daily. Although it did help them out a little bit, most of the men had a little bit of pocket change by the end of the week. So things were going pretty good for a while, until Franklin Gowan, who was the main coal boss, decided he didn't want to pay them any extra money. So he cut their pay by 10%. Now, the men went on strike. The strike lasted 7 months. Within those 7 months, the men looked for new jobs and better opportunities. Unfortunately, most of the men returned back to the mines. Upon re-entering the mines, Franklin Gowan cut their pay by another 10% just for leaving. So now they were down 20%. This is where all the violence started. Mine fights broke out, coal bosses ended up dead, and threatening messages were found. Franklin Gowan then decided to hire a spy named James McParland to go down to the mines and see who was murdering his innocent coal bosses. He went down to the mines under the alias James McKenna for 2 years. Within those 2 years, he compiled a list of 20 names who the supposed Molly Maguires. Now, all 20 men were put on trial. The trials consisted of no Catholic, no Irish, no miners, and no women. Most of the men were coal bosses or immigrants speaking very little amounts of English, so as you can imagine, all of the men were found guilty and sentenced to be hanged. 20 men hanged in all, 7 hanged right here in this prison, 4 hanged on these gallows all at the same time. The 4 men's last names were Doyle, Donahue, Kelly, and Campbell. They would have stayed in these last 4 cells lining the wall, 17 to 20. The day of their hanging, they would step out of their cells, hands tied behind their backs, walk up a flight of stairs onto the gallows, white hoods placed over their heads, nooses wrapped around their necks, and when the signal was given, the floors would drop, and the men would fall 4 feet to their death. Now, the story of the handprint lies with, they believed it, Alexander Campbell. He stayed in cell 17, lining the left wall. The night before his hanging, he took his left sweaty palm, placed in the dirt at the bottom of his cell, and then placed it on the wall. He then stated, "My handprint will stay here eternally, to shame the county that would hang an innocent man." He stayed like that all night, and he was hanged the following day. Now, when he was hanged, they placed the noose incorrectly around his neck, placing the knot behind his neck instead of on the side, so when the floors dropped and the man fell, he did not break his neck, so he didn't die instantly. It actually took him 15 minutes to be fully pronounced dead of suffocation. Besides that, they washed the handprint off, sent a new inmate into the cell. Later that day, the handprint returned. Since then, despite of any warden's effort to remove the handprint, it has come back to its full strength. They have washed it off many times, painted over the handprint, even replastered over the wall. Still to this day, the handprint returns. We did have Wilkes University scientists come into the jail and do studies on the handprint, finding nothing but the paint behind the handprint. So scientifically, what you and I see in that wall really does not exist. So I guess the best person to describe the handprint itself was the last warden to live here in the jail. His name is Charles Neist. He said, "You don't believe it, and I don't believe it, but there it is on the wall to see." This is the end of the guided tour. The handprint's in cell 17. Like I said, no photography of the handprint of any kind. Besides that, though, you do a free roam of the whole entire building. Take as many pictures as you like. Besides the dungeon, you can't go back down there without a tour guide. And since there is another tour coming through, just be quiet as they pass through. After that, you can just go along freely and just have fun. All right, well.